They had escaped Egypt, but now there was nowhere to go. In front of them stood the sea. Behind them came Pharaoh's army. So why would God lead his people into what looked like a dead end? Was this a trap, a test? Or was God about to reveal that the dead end was actually the beginning?
Only began after a series of 10 plagues systematically dismantled the nation's infrastructure, finally compelling Pharaoh to release them. They left with significant momentum. Reports describe roughly 3 million people marching out, carrying the wealth of their former masters and driving vast herds of livestock into the desert. The direct route to the Promised Land lay north, along the Mediterranean coast through the land of the Philistines. However, the biblical account states this path was avoided. If the people faced immediate warfare, the fear of death would likely drive them back to their chains in Egypt. Instead, they followed a pillar of cloud into the deep wilderness. They moved away from the civilization of the coast and toward the rugged, isolated mountains of the Sinai Peninsula, eventually reaching the shores of the Gulf of Aqaba. This specific routing stripped Israel of any strategic advantage. By moving deep into the desert mountains, their first days of freedom looked like a logistical disaster. In the Egyptian court, the initial shock of the plagues was replaced by the economic reality of losing 3 million workers. Pharaoh and his officials viewed the Israelites' erratic movement as a sign of confusion. Pharaoh mobilized 600 of his elite royal chariots, supported by thousands of horsemen and infantry. It was a high-speed, mechanized force designed to run down a slow-moving civilian population. The geography now favored the pursuer. The Israelites had been funneled into a massive coastal plain, boxed in by sheer mountain ranges that offered no path for escape to the north or south. As the dust of the Egyptian army appeared on the horizon, the reality of the trap became clear. The army was at their back, the mountains were on their flanks, and the deep waters of the sea lay directly ahead. The route had not been a mistake. Israel had been positioned in a geographic kill zone where every human avenue for survival was closed. Panic broke out across the camp as the people turned on Moses, claiming it was better to remain in slavery than to be slaughtered in the desert. Moses responded not with a battle plan, but with a command to stand still and wait. The instruction that followed was entirely illogical from a tactical standpoint. God commanded Moses to tell the people to move forward, a directive that required them to walk directly into the ocean. To buy them time, the pillar of cloud shifted to the rear of the Israelite camp. It functioned as a supernatural barrier, plunging the Egyptian army into total darkness while providing light for the Israelites to prepare for the crossing. As Moses stretched his hand over the water, a fierce east wind began to blow. All through the night, the wind battered the surface of the sea, physically driving the waters back until they stood as vertical walls, revealing a dry path across the seabed. Entering the seabed required the people to overcome the sight of millions of tons of water suspended above them. They had to march into a landscape that defied every law of nature. This crossing occurred at a point where the seabed at the Gulf of Aqaba slopes downward nearly half a mile. Instead of a shallow marsh, the Israelites were descending into the actual depths of the ocean, moving across a floor that had been dried by the wind. At daybreak, the Egyptians saw the Israelites nearing the far shore. Driven by a mix of military momentum and professional pride, the entire chariot force charged into the opening in the sea. In the middle of the crossing, the Egyptian war machine stalled. Chariot wheels swerved and locked in the marine sediment, and the highly organized pursuit collapsed into a chaotic cluster of stalled vehicles and panicked soldiers. With the Israelites safely across, Moses raised his staff a final time. The walls of water lost their hold and collapsed with a roar, burying the chariots, the horses, and the entirety of Pharaoh's elite forces. The same geography that provided a corridor of life for the former slaves became a mass grave for the superpower that pursued them. By sunrise, the greatest military power of the ancient world had been neutralized. The threat that had loomed over the Israelites for 4 centuries was erased in a single night. The geographic dead end forced a confrontation that was not about escape, but about supremacy. By leading Israel into a corner, the deity demonstrated a power that could overwrite the physical laws of the planet to achieve a political result. This event permanently removed the Egyptian threat, signaled to neighboring nations that a new power had arrived, and established a prototype for an escape where no physical exit existed. While the connection to Egypt was severed on the shoreline, the nation's struggle shifted rather than ended. The waters had saved them, but they were now standing at the edge of an entirely new challenge. Deliverance at the sea had granted them their freedom, but that freedom only bought them entry into a 40-year fight for survival in the wilderness.
The sea had not been the end of Israel's journey. It was the moment they learned that when God leads the way, an impossible path can become a road forward. But escaping Egypt was only the beginning. Because after the Red Sea, Israel still had to learn how to live free.
If this story blessed you, please like, share, and subscribe to Holy Bible Chronicles for more powerful Bible stories and miracles.